an 8-core Ryzen processor, an RX 2070. These are all you need to build a console equivalent gaming PC that will challenge consoles at a respectable price. We're talking around $500. And for that kind of money, these components are going to do well at challenging your consoles, whether it be your PlayStation 5 or your Xbox Series X, and getting console equivalent performance at plus minus the same sort of price, but of course with all the extras that a PC brings. So this is the kind of system where you can sit down on your couch. It's a more small form factor system. You put it next to your TV, you plug in your remote, you plug in your earphones, you sit down on your couch and you relax and you play some games. That's the purpose of this PC. So for $500, let's see what we can do. Let's do it. First up here, let's talk a little bit about the graphics card. Now this is an RX 2070 and this is an RTX 2070, and this is of course a RTX card. So what this means is this card, even though it is a first generation RTX card, this card has access to ray tracing capability. Now these are first gen ray tracing cores, so they aren't the newest, but they can still use all of the ray tracing capabilities, your DLSS and your upscaling, and they can make good use of this, especially in the kind of PC that we're going to be building. Now mostly for your media center or console equivalent builds, you'll only be using your HDMI ports, but this has some display ports as well if those are necessary. This card is like I said, a first gen ray tracing card, and this comes with 8 gigabytes of VRAM, and it is of course a 2070, and so at HD and at 2K it will perform some pretty good performance, somewhere right in between an Xbox Series S and maybe just a little bit under an Xbox Series X in terms of performance, and pretty much around the same thing for the PlayStation 5 going to the PlayStation 5 Pro. Now this only has an 1 8-pin power connector requirement, and all in all it'll pull not that much power, maybe around, at the most, I would say maybe around 150 watts or so. So in terms of power efficiency, in terms of pricing, and in terms of performance, this is a very good match, and it is right there right now second hand. You can get these. I paid 2,500 Rand for this, and that is right around $160. So a really good price, and I'm pretty excited to use it and to benchmark it. The CPU that I've gone with is the Ryzen 2700X, and this is also a second-hand CPU, but it is in fantastic condition. Let me show you there. Now this is getting on a little bit in age, but it is still a very powerful processor, coming in at 8 cores with 16 threads. And while this is an older architecture, not being Zen 3 or anything, it is still a pretty performant Ryzen chip, and in terms of power, power requirements against output performance, it is actually quite good. And in terms of gaming, especially at 2K and 4K, this processor is more than fine for gaming tasks even in 2025. And of course, this processor is more than capable of productivity tasks as well. Using it for a productivity station for developing video games, for creating renders, for 3D work, 2D work, administrative tasks, whatever it might be. This is a more than powerful enough processor. The A320M series of motherboards are getting a little bit long in the tooth now, but for something like this, for a media center sort of console equivalent PC build, something more small form factor, this is still a good choice, second hand. And I paid around $70 for this, but it included RAM and a CPU. And that CPU plus the graphics card that came with this, I then traded for the 2700X. So, a motherboard like this, it only has the 2 DIMM slots. It only has one PCI Express slot, but that's fine. And unfortunately with this, there are no NVMe slots. And so I've purchased an SSD for this. Sorry, my chair keeps going down. So this has obviously your normal 24-pin power, and then it also has a 16-pin power for overclockable CPUs, such as the 2700X. So not the newest motherboard, but decent still, pretty good in terms of I/O there, especially for a media build. So not the best, but more than good enough for what I'm going to be using it for. When you buy second-hand components, RAM is bound to be mismatched. So I got this one ballistics from Micron and a HP generic stick, and these are both rated 2666 megahertz, and these are let's see if we can see the timings on this. Well, this stick is CL19, so not the best there, but just for some basic gaming it'll be fine. And in terms of RAM, when you're just talking gaming, you don't have to worry about it too much. And so yeah, in terms of RAM, we have 16 gigs, and it is pretty slow, but it's going to be fine for gaming. My chair is going down again. So for this Media Center console equivalent PC, I have gone and bought a 1TB Hicksemi just normal SSD drive. And while this isn't the fastest thing on the world, it is also not the slowest, and it is just standard. It's fine for games. It'll help with loading times, and 1TB is plenty of storage for even if you want to add a few movies and series. When talking about PCs that are meant to do more than just be workstations, entertainment PCs, networking is important. Now, while this isn't the best networking card, I will be sitting very close to the router and will most probably be using a cable. But I picked this up for a good price and I included it. I would recommend going for AC networking cards, so that you can actually match your networking speed. But, for generic networking use, this is okay. While it's going to be a little bit slow in terms of network performance, it's not the worst thing in the world, and it's better to have Wi-Fi than not. In terms of the power supply, this is another new part, and this is the Atom V550, which is of course a 550 watts power supply. And this is nothing fancy. This is a very basic power supply. It doesn't even have sleeving on all the cables. But for a build like this, you're not really going to see much of it, and it's fine. 550 watts is pretty much borderline for what we need in power requirement, but new power supplies are quite expensive, and I didn't want to overspend on power that I'm not going to use, because I'm just going to use this build for gaming and for watching movies and stuff. So this will be fine, but just be careful, and usually it's better to buy just maybe 50 or 100 watts more power than you need, just to be sure that power spikes in terms of graphics performance or whatever doesn't overload your power supply. But reputable brands like Antec with the Atom series, while these are not the best power supplies in the world, they're fine for just general use, and that is what I've gone with. Going to stand back a bit for this one. Rounding us off with another new component, we have a Cooler Master case. Now, I'm not exactly sure what the name of this case is. I do have the box, but I didn't check before filming, so that's my bad. But this is a sort of small form factor Cooler Master case. It fits micro ATX case motherboards and normal ATX power supplies, so that's always good. And while this isn't the smallest thing in the world, it's not big either, and I really like the way this looks. It's basically just a cube, and I think it's going to look really cool. It comes with one ARGB fan at the back, so not too much included, and price wise I got it on special for 700 Rand, so that's right around $40, which is not a bad price for this. It also comes with removable filters, and you can of course fix more fans to it. But all in all, you get one filter extra in the box, and price wise I think it's a good price for something that I thought it was going to be a little bit smaller, but build quality is amazing, and I really like the way that this looks. So that's going to be about it for the components. Let's move on and let's build it. So there you have it, the completed build. I like how it came out. I really like the case. It was a lot of fun to build in. It's not as compact as I thought it would be, but it has some nice features. I think what could make this build a bit better is getting rid of the mustard and ketchup cables over there and doing the cable routing a little bit better, and maybe getting a proper CPU cooler over there. But apart from that, not too bad. I think getting some white cables in would look really nice with the RTX logo. And apart from that, maybe some RGB lights or something like that. I'm not too sure. Doesn't matter at this point. I think the build looks nice, relatively compact. If you see it against my main machine, it is still quite large, but it is smaller than the main one. The case was quite interesting to work with, has a few unique features. The only thing I didn't like is the breakout pins, but apart from that, had some cool unique features, and it can even take a hard drive. So very impressed with the case, and all in all, I think it's a good purchase. So that's it for the build. Let's talk about it. So there you have it, and I really like the way that this PC came out. I really like this chassis by Cooler Master. I think they did a really good job, and pricing wise I did get it on special, but it is not a bad price in general. And I think all in all, the shape and functionality of this PC came out looking really good. Now, this PC will be used mainly for gaming and a little bit of media consumption. And so I wanted it to look a little bit like a console, and I think I achieved that. It does look like a bit of a more clunky, more chunky console, but at the end of the day, it does look console equivalent. And that was kind of the idea with this. Now, this case, if you have a bigger TV cabinet like I do, you can fit it under inside the TV cabinet, and you don't have to look at it. But I like the way it looks. Maybe I'll display it. Maybe I'll put it inside the TV cabinet. But either way, I think the PC came out looking fantastic. And in terms of, space, it is bigger than a console, so you have to consider that. But it can do more. And in my opinion, I really like the way it looks. So that's going to be about it for this one. In the next one, we are going to actually benchmark the computer and see how it actually performs. See, if these components coming out to $500 US, if these components are worthwhile for building and challenging a console. And, just how it performs in terms of HD and QHD gaming. And just seeing if it is a worthwhile competitor to consoles. I really enjoyed building this one. I hope you enjoyed watching it, and I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.